youtube.com/simracecheck.
Yo, this is Sim Racing Tech, Peter here. People's been asking me how to do some basic setups, and let's just throw ourselves right into it and get along here. This could be any car, any sim, it doesn't matter. So, I'm here in GTR 2, of course, since this is at the moment my favorite sim. And the basic things you need to watch out for. First, let's take the engine. Make sure that doesn't get too hot. Set your radiator openings right. I don't know what this is at the moment, so I'm going to look. It goes to 4, it goes to 1. Alright, let's set it at 4 because you're sure that the engine won't overheat. Rev Limits, if you can open the engine file inside the game folder. There will be folders and things that point you in the direction. If it's R Factor, it will have something like carname.ini. If it's GTR 2, it will have the name .eng. Some games you can open the engine file in text editors, some others you need to open things, otherwise you can get graphs and stuff, but in the end all you need to do is to check when on the rev scale from 0 revs to red line, when on the rev scale is the maximum horsepower and when on the rev scale is the maximum torque. This is the area you need to keep the RPMs between, and if you can, you need to slightly go over the point of maximum power before you change gears. So what you need to do is set your maximum rotational speed limiter or the RPM limiter to an RPM that is just above the maximum power and set your red line there. Then you need to, of course, think about what's the race and what's my tactics and stuff like that, and set fuel and stuff like that. If you're just going out to practice and hot lap, put on fuel for 10-15 laps and go out and do your thing. You need to set up the differential of the car. What I normally do is set up the differential as neutral as possible. Here we have percentage ranges from 0 to 100. Set that in the middle, so I'll go for 50% on both power and coast. If I have pump pressure here, I'll set that to 50% too. And I want to go, the preload is 5 to 1. I'll set that at 3 because that gives me an average number. The gears are already set up for this track. I'm at Le Mans. I need long gears and high top speed. Okay, I'll proceed with handling things. Now, we need to move on to springs and dampers, right? So if you're in a car, you need it to move similar front to back. So what you want to do in the beginning is set up the springs evenly forward and rear. Now if the car balance is 50-50, that will be the correct setting for the car. This is the correct neutral setting for the car. It's same spring rates front and back. If the car is heavier in the rear, as with mid-engine and rear-engine cars, you need to have higher spring rates in the rear than in the front. Of course, because more of the weight is in the rear when the car is neutral and driving straight down the road. Okay, so my spring rates in this car are going to be, since the weight longitude is 51% and 49 in the back, I'm going to put going down, going down, going down. How low can I go? I'm going to set this up as possible, as loose as possible or as soft as possible, and then I'm going to give the rear springs that one extra click than the front springs, because then I know I'm sort of in the ballpark of making the car handle evenly with even grip. Then I'll be looking at dampers, and what I want to do is, you can see here that the rebound in the front is higher than the bump in the front. This makes the wheel, when it hits a bump, if you look at my hands, when you hit a bump, the car wheel will be pushed up and it will stay up for longer before it slowly traverses down again and hits the road again after the bump. This is what we want in the front when we're hitting fast continuous bumps like clips. We want the wheel to stay up and lose grip. We want the wheel to stay away from the ground and continuously lose grip. So I have a round thing here simulating the tire. We want the tire to go sort of like this and stay up over the bump, and then just hit the top of the next bump and hit the top of the next bump and hit the top of the next bump and hit the top of the next bump. Right, you got it now. Because we want the car to lose grip in the front end when we're going over fast bumps so that the car doesn't spin out of control. Now, this is why we have the fast rebound set especially high, because this is what controls when the wheel is moving fast up and down. This controls the resistance to moving the tire down again when it's moving fast. The slow bump and slow rebound is what controls it when the car is moving slowly or traversing weight forward and backward. The way it also works is that the slow bump is always applied, and on top of that you apply the fast bump and fast rebound settings. So the slow bump and slow rebound is always on. On top of that you put the resistance to fast and slow, or fast bump and fast rebound. So if you want a soft dampening effect, it's not enough to just turn down the fast bump and fast rebound, because these are actually only small percentages of what the slow bump and slow rebound settings are. If I had put this into showing the correct numbers in newtons per millimeter per second, you would see that the numbers for slow bump and slow rebound are significantly higher than the numbers for fast rebound and fast bump. But the way it works is like a stacked column. You have the slow bump and slow rebound in the bottom, and then on top you add the fast bump and fast rebound. So what we want to do here is have a relatively high slow bump and rebound setting, and then on top of that we add extra resistance for rebound and just a little bit of fast bump. We could actually go and set this to 1. In the rear we do exactly the opposite. Here we want the wheel to just hit the bump and easily go up and then go down fast again, so that it goes up and down, follows the road more closely than the front wheels, because then we will have significantly more grip in the rear when we're going over bumps than in the front, and this will make the car understeer. This is the perfect way to go out and make setups that will understeer over bumps and understeer over curbs. So this is what we want. I'll then go up and set the anti-roll bars up slightly conservative and set them at a standard. If we go about 120 or 100 in the front and then go something like 20 in the rear, we are almost sure that this is a good relation when we have this weight distribution of the car. Cars that's heavier in the back needs more anti-roll bar in the front, and vice versa, to make the car more stable. We didn't need to look at brake pressure. I always set that at 100 because I want to make sure that the car can brake, and then I will modulate the pedal to avoid locking up the front tires. Brake bias, I find that whatever car you're driving, going out with a 60-40 distribution here is always a good starting point. Brake duct size, we don't know how much cooling the brake ducts need here, but we want to make sure that they are warm but not too warm, so I want to see what the settings range is here, and setting them in the middle is about 3, so that's what I'm going to go for. Now we have a soft car, so I know we shouldn't be able to run the lowest possible ride height here, so I want to see what that is, and that is 5.5 centimeters, so I'll go on and turn that 1.5 centimeter up. And since we know that all cars like to have the rear end of the car higher than the front, because that will cause an aerodynamic hole here in the back under the car, and that will make the car suck to the ground. And if you have diffusers, you're going to need that aerodynamic vacuum back here on the car. So you will always want the rear of the car to be higher than the front. If you go the other way, you will create not a vacuum but an overpressure on the car, under the car, and the car will constantly be lifted up from the road, and you will lose, and you will actually make the reverse of downforce. You will make upforce on the car all the time. So we need to set the front of the car to 7 centimeters, and I will go ahead and set the rear to 8.5, because that should make a good brake on the diffuser. I want to look at the camber angles, and usually on a race car, a camber angle of 3 degrees is a good point to start from. So you always want higher camber angles on your front tires, because the way the car rolls when you go into a corner. the weight transition will be to the front because you should be slightly trail braking into the corner, and then in order to make the car turn in good, you want a slightly more camber angle at the front to make the tire, when the weight goes forward, the tire gets pushed down, and when you start to turn to one side, if this is the left front wheel and I'm turning right, weight will go over this and turn it flat to down to the asphalt. So that's what you want to do. Go to 4 here. Caster angles, I don't know what the maximum, what this car needs, but seems the caster angle 3 seems to be just okay to start with. So this should make the car actually pretty balanced, and we're now going out onto the track to see how this balance. Oh, sorry, I'm going to just set up my tires to start with. We can see here what sort of compounds there is. Of course, we're not going onto rain, we're not going onto the hardest tire, we're not going onto the soft or very soft tire either. So let's pick the first medium compound that we come across. That should be okay. Tire pressures, always put that at... this is a very difficult part to set, so you just want to pick a number from the start and set that up on all the tires. I want to go with 180 here because I think that's good for all tires. That's my guess at what's good for all tires. Steering lock, of course I know what kind of steering lock I have on my wheel, and I want to match that up to the steering lock of the car, so we are going to go 20 degrees here because I think that will match the rotation of my wheel, which is at the moment 370 degrees. So that should be it. I'm at Le Mans, so there's no doubt. I'm going to go 1 splitter and minimum rear spoiler. I'm going to go as low and downforce as possible because I want maximum speed, since this is a GT car and it doesn't have a lot of downforce, so it doesn't make any sense to go high on the wing. If this was, say, a track like Barcelona, I would want to go 2 on the splitter and then start conservatively at something like 9 or 10, since that's the maximum setting. I would go close to the maximum setting, but perhaps not maximum. 9 would be sort of where I would start. If you are a beginner, you obviously want to go higher on the downforce in the rear than usual, because an understeering car is just much more easy to handle than a suddenly oversteering car, so you want to make sure the car is always understeering. But now I am hanging on, and I want to go 1 and 1. Now let's see how this car handles. I'm going to move myself back here so you can see the displays here. I have GTR 2 XD on here, so you can see the different numbers of the car and how they are behaving. Nope, I need to start my joystick key here to set up my different keys and make the car react to stuff. Yes, pit limiter on, lights on. Let's see what happens. Here we go. This is, by the way, the Aston Martin from the GTR 24H model. It should be, I can't see my gear numbers here for the webcam. Actually makes it hard to select the gear. I'm going to change the HUD wheel here. The gears out on the side here, you can see what gear I'm in. Oh, the car is oversteering a bit on braking, so I need to move the brake balance 1% forward at the moment. Otherwise, it seems pretty good. It's got our curves on the steering. Down straight we go. Sixth gear to take care of that engine and not over rev it too much. I should brake about here. Go to second, go over the curve again. Oh, very, very much understeer on braking. That could be because the tires are not warm yet, so to go back to the pits and do something about it yet. I'm going to move the brake balance further forward here to make sure that it's not because of brake balance. I want to make sure that it's something in the setup that's causing the oversteer. I'm braking. And braking again. Still slightly turning oversteer, but fast handling curves very, very well. It's very easy to control on throttle. So basically, at the moment, the only thing we need to look at now is the oversteer under braking. And oversteer under braking can only come from one thing, and that's the car moving the balance forward, or moving the balancing point, center of gravity forward too fast, so that the front tires get too much grip, or the rear tires lose grip too fast. So we want to do things in the setup that make the rear tires keep to the ground during braking. See that critical corner, this is coming in kink. Hard to control it here. But it's just getting better as the tires get more. That was pretty good. And then Marsh, pretty good also. Now, up here in the coming cross curves, we're going to get the real test of the handling of the car. As the other turns here are just going braking down, and up here we need to brake while turning and difficult stuff like that. So this will be the real test of the car. The setup's curves are still very good. So I go with this one to see nothing happened. This one's on the front. Braking while turning. See, the rear end steps out there. Braking while turning again. Rear end steps out a little bit still. Nudge the camera here. Sorry. Let's go back into the knee. Oh! No, actually, the setup is getting better. Oh! Just as I said that, it came back to oversteer and hit me. So let's go back to the setup and see what we can do in here to make the car send weight forward or move the balancing point forward too fast when we're braking. I want to look at the slow rebounds on the rear. We want those lower, because that is front wheel, rear wheel, and the weight is moving forward on the car and the rear wheel is lifting. So we want to remove the resistance to the rear tire lifting. This is the slow rebound. We want this tire to stay on the ground with the front tire when the car is tilting forward on the braking, right? So we want that lower. We also want the front tire to not load up as fast, and this is where we can apply more slow bump to the front. So we move up here a significant amount of slow bump in the front. We can also try to balance this out by removing some of the springs in the rear, so we're going to do that too. Now we've done two things to ensure that this should not happen. We should not have oversteer while braking. And we're also going to move up the brake balance to 62% front, 38% rear. Okay, let's go out and try this again. We've done now three things that should all combine to make sure that the car doesn't oversteer during braking. So when you know if you're testing something and you're unsure what's going to happen, you should only move one value. But we know that these three factors are going to make the car less oversteering during braking. So we can easily do all three things. Now, if this doesn't solve the problem, we're going to have to do more. But if this solves the problem, we can go back and go down on some of the values and see if it makes the car more oversteering again. But as you can see, a lot of it has already disappeared, and the car is much easier to handle now than it was before. And it's slightly understeering here on the coasting or half throttle during the corners here. It's slightly understeering. The turn-in braking oversteer has almost completely disappeared. Let's see what happens when we come down to the hard braking zone here. And the first part of some strings. Turning in, almost no oversteer, still a little bit there, but this is, I'd say this is workable. Actually, let's go back to the kits and do one last thing that can make the car more balanced and more balanced overall during this braking, and this is to increase the coast differential. So we'll go to 80 on that, and that should remove the last of the oversteer. So I've already been taking a lot of time here, explaining a lot of things. I want to end this episode here. I think you've already learned a lot of things about basic setups, and of course all the principles here apply to all sims. It even applies to real cars. If you're going out on a race car track and setting up a real car, you can actually use all the same bump damper spring principles as you've seen here. So this is kind of racing in general. Alright, thanks for watching, and remember to click the subscribe button under the video here if you want to follow and see more of my videos. And if you like this video, don't forget to press the like button, since that is really important to spread the message that you click like. The videos get more popular on YouTube and more people can easily find them and view them. So thank you for watching Sim Racing Tech.
YouTube.com/SimRaceTech.